And we'll take a closer look at some of those stories at the top of the hour, because for the next 30 minutes our focus is sharply on the world of business. And Francis, as we like to do at the beginning of the show, there's always a number or a chart of the day. And for some reason, we're obsessed with billions these days.
Well, tonight's big number for you on a Monday. We like big numbers. So the number 1.6 billion rand. And this, I can tell you, is a number that is now shining in the dark, despite apparent efforts by South Africa's power utility, Eskom. Now, in an explosive report today, it was revealed that Eskom has now admitted that it lied when it defended this amount of money in terms of a payment to an advisory firm, Trillian, which is linked to the controversial Gupta family. In June, a damning report was released into Trillian by an advocate. At that time, Eskom said that a global management consultancy, Olivery Wyman, had concluded that all payments to Trillian were based on prudent costs incurred and value created. Now, the Business Day today is reporting that Eskom has admitted that Olivery Wyman failed to approve those payments. Not only that, it red flagged them and recommended a legal review of Trillian contracts. Trillian was owned by close Gupta associate Salim Essa, and a report by the former public protector said Trillian had funneled money to the Guptas to buy a coal mine, Optimum, although Trillian denies that. All right, let's get more, and we're joined by one of the reporters on that story from the Business Day, Stefan Hofstadter, who's been following this. Stefan, remind us what these payments were for, supposedly, and the history of concern with Trillian.
Well, there were two projects really that they were being contracted to do. Well, not actually contracted, but were performing for Eskom. The first was to work on a corporate plan that was from September 2015 till I think January 2016, and the second was to work on a turnaround strategy for Eskom. So all of this work that Trillian did was as a partner to the global consultancy firm McKinsey. So the contracts actually were with McKinsey, and Trillian was the partner for those contracts. So that in essence is what they were billing for. That's basically what it is.
And very quickly, McKinsey is saying at some point it ended its relationship with Trillian. So it's trying to wash its hands of any wrongdoing, basically.
It is. It's quite complex in the sense that the only contract that exists, even though Trillian was paid 600 million rand for the work that it said it did, the only contract actually exists between Eskom and McKinsey. There's no contract for this work between Trillian and Eskom, and as I said, Eskom paid 600 million of this 1.6 billion to McKinsey. There are questions about McKinsey's involvement, especially because one of McKinsey's directors, Vikas Saga, wrote a letter to Eskom saying that they should be making payments directly to Trillian for work done in partnership with McKinsey. So that is something that McKinsey is investigating internally. But yeah, so there seems to be questions that have to be answered by both McKinsey and by Trillian.
All right, tell us what happened today, because you were following this. You were told that Olivery Wyman, another consultancy group, had looked at these payments and said everything's okay. That all changed today.
Yeah, I mean, basically what happened was about a month ago, or 6 weeks ago, Advocate Geoff Budlender issued a report, and there's a very damning report about the payments that Trillian had received from both Eskom and Transnet, in fact. And it raised major questions about, whether these payments were above board, especially because, they'd been sent to the Chief Financial Officer, Anoj Singh, and stamp paid on the same day as they were received, or they were paid 2 days later. There wasn't clarity about whether the work was actually performed by Trillian itself, and whether there was the proper supporting documents. So it actually made some very adverse findings against Trillian. So at that point, I asked Eskom about these findings and to account for them. And the response that I received was that Eskom had commissioned Olivery Wyman to conduct an external review of the contract and the payments, and I quote this from this response in June that Eskom gave us, and it had drawn up a report which concluded that all the payments were based on prudent costs incurred and value created. In other words, it gave the payments thumbs up and said there was nothing wrong with it. Now, subsequent to Geoff Budlender's report, Eskom then commissioned another 2 internal investigations. One was by law firm Bowman's and the other one was by a forensic consultancy. And they both found massive problems with these payments, including the ones that Geoff Budlender had found. Invoices being paid on the same day, no supporting documentation for the payments, and also it appears as though the board tender committee was misled when it was authorizing these payments. And they even suggested, one of the reports suggested criminal action should be taken and civil action to recover the monies. Then today, Eskom finally said that they are retracting or correcting what was said a month ago, or was said in June, and in fact, and I quote from them, Oliver Wyman did not approve making any of the payments to McKinsey and Trillian. In fact, Oliver Wyman raised concerns with certain of the payment claims, and it goes on to say Oliver Wyman also recommended an independent legal review, which is the complete opposite of what Eskom said to us in June.
Stefan, so this is really incredible. Firstly, there's a spotlight on a whole lot of people at Eskom already. You've mentioned Anoj Singh. Incredible, because surely Oliver Wyman reads the papers in which they are claimed to have done something that they didn't. My quick question to you is, though, who was trying to lie to you?
Yeah, that's a question that we'll be addressing in a story that'll come out tomorrow. But that's one of the issues we've been trying to establish for the rest of today, and it'll be in a story tomorrow.
All right, thank you for your time this evening. Stefan Hofstadter from the business